What's going on, everybody? John Stamper, the host of ADOM TV, and we are so excited to bring to you all of the amazing ADOM members out there. Brand new mini casts here in 2020 coming to you from ADOM TV, and no better way than to have our first episode than to be one on saving you time. And not only that, but we are so very excited for our guest today. We have the CEO of Cedar, Paul Edwards. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great, John.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us certainly so much of your insight and the great work that you guys do at Cedar. And what we're going to do, everybody, is today's episode, we're going to touch on three main things, and Paul will certainly get into the details. But number one is, how do you use your employee handbook as a management tool? He's going to get into that. Second, how your timekeeping system can save you time. And then finally, how to get employees to answer their own policy questions. Man, that'd be nice, Paul. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So before we get into those specifics, Paul, maybe share a little bit with everybody your story and what brought you to what you're doing right now.
So we created Cedar. I'm a co-founder. Created Cedar back in 2006. At that time, what we realized was that small businesses didn't have a couple of things. The first thing was they didn't have access to really good guidance when it comes to compliance. And so, all 50 states have all these crazy laws, wage and hour, all sorts of things you can and can't do. It's very difficult to understand as a small business owner or manager, which rule applies to you and why. So we solved that problem, and we did that through the second thing which we created that was missing, which was having an expert actually get on the phone with you that understands your dental practice and knows the difference between, say, a hygienist and a dental assistant, which are not the same thing, and understands how your business works, how dental runs, and can actually help you solve the problem within the confines of those laws that apply. So, for example, I think everybody out there knows you can't have a no gossiping policy. That's not legal. It feels like the right thing to do, put a policy in place to tell everybody no gossiping, but it's not a legal policy. However, we have the need to tamp down the gossiping and to stop what is generally being called gossiping. So we give you the tools and the words and the tactics to be able to also be an effective manager when you go to solve a problem.
I love it. All right. So this first one, I think, is a really unique way, right, to take that employee handbook that I know so many people are like, what do we use this for, right? And in your case, you're going to share with everybody how to use that as a management tool. So let's start there.
Well, first of all, for you as a manager, you should have a partner who can help you put your book together so that it serves as a guide for you. And not just a guide to how we think we want to get things done, but going all the way back to the compliance part of it. So it's not just, it is a guide, it is a legal guide. You know that your policy is specific and that you can rely on it and that it's okay to enforce it or to go by it and use it repeatedly. Because that's what you're looking for, is consistency. So as a manager, consistency, John, is huge. Even, I have to tell you this, although I don't want the members doing this, it's better to make the same mistake over and over again than to treat 5 different people 5 different ways. You treat your favorite one way, you treat your brand new person a different way. That's not consistency. So as a managing tool now, it's also there for your employees to actually use. So here's what happens most of the time. Handbook gets done, handbook gets delivered to employee either at hire or sometime later. Employee reads the handbook, employee comes in, complains a little bit about a few things that are in it, learns that they have to sign it, they sign it, employee signs it, nobody remembers the handbook after that. It kind of collects dust. The manager remembers it, the doctor remembers it, because if they did it themselves, they spent tens of thousands of dollars and hours on it, so they remember the heavy lift. Yeah. But no one's really referring to it until they have a question. And so as a management tool, you want to be able to point to that handbook. And when an employee comes in and says, hey, do we get paid for the day after July 4th since it's on, are we going to be closed? And if we are we going to get paid since July 4th is on a Thursday? Are we going to be closed on Friday? Do we get paid? your answer is typically, well, hang on, and you go in the book and you look for the policy, and then you tell them what you said, what your rule is about that.
Right.
It would be easier if you just looked them dead in the eye and said, why don't you go to your self-service portal, read it, come back and tell me. In fact, once you get the answer, you're right, it's coming up, would you send an email out to the whole team? Tell them you just looked at the book.
Yeah.
But you could do that about 100 times in the book.
Right.
I mean, there are all sorts of things where we customize it and craft it for the practice, and the law allows you some latitude, and you're making decisions. And then, we can spread this all over the place. There's all kinds of questions that come and get asked.
It's
policy.
Like you said, it really is the formation of it, the putting together of it, certainly crucial, but it can be treated as its own living and breathing document, like you said, and using it in that way to, and I would imagine, and you guys see this a lot from experience, is that the more the practices take that approach, right, where they actually have the employees looking at it, delegating some pieces, communicating out, they probably then start to own it a lot more than maybe they did before, than you said, and they're just basically signing it off.
Well, they absolutely, that's absolutely true. I mean, it's like anything. The more you use it, the more you go to the gym, the more you go to the gym. Right. I mean, that's how that works. You've got to get over that first part of it. You've got to see, you've got to start going in order to keep going. If you just avoid the gym altogether, then the less you go to the gym.
Yeah.
So, I guess that metaphor works.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the next one, I love this. Speaking about talking going to the gym, you got to go to the gym. How about the timekeeping systems in the practice of really having them save you time? I think that's a great way to look at it. So let's touch on that one next.
So we're in a unique position in dentistry because most of the dental patient management systems, the EagleSofts, the Dentrixes, and all the different systems that are out there have some kind of built-in timekeeping system in them, which was very smart on their part. You log in and immediately the system says, do you want to turn on the clocking for this employee? And the employee clocks in and out. And that's all well and fine. But that kind of system has really developed and evolved over the years, and we're not seeing it develop and evolve inside of these softwares. So an evolved timekeeping system is also attached to PTO. Mm-hmm. So that whether or not and let's define this real quick, John. I'm just going to use the term PTO as a general term.
Okay.
Paid time off. Some practices take their vacation and their sick time, they lump them all together, and they say, we're going to call it PTO, and you can use these days for whatever you want. Use it for vacation, for sick, a mental health day, whatever you need.
Okay.
And they also generally try to put some parameters around it. If you're not using it for sick leave, you got to give us advance notice, at least a month if you're going to take more than, say, 2 days off consecutively, meaning, you're going to use it for vacation.
Right.
Then you back up just a little bit, and you've got practices that use vacation and sick leave. They don't lump the two together. And interestingly enough, across the country, in over 40 jurisdictions, both states and cities, they passed what are called mandatory paid sick leave laws.
Okay.
So this started about 4 or 5 years ago. When that happens, if you've got a PTO model, it's likely that you're going to have to decouple the sick and the vacation and separate them again.
Okay.
Because they have put all kinds of onerous requirements on those sick days where you can't require doctor's note, you can't ask for advance notice of use, you can't do a lot of things with them. So you don't want your PTO policy, your vacation policy subjected to those rules. Okay. So now let me get to the time-saving part of it.
Yep.
That all sounds very complicated to track and take care of. So all of us have some kind of policy in place that is accruing or earning vacation, PTO, sick, whatever you want to call it. What you need is a system in place, a technological system in place, which is connected to the hours that are being worked, and it's calculating it. It's doing the work in the software. It's a customizable system. Right. Now, nobody who's listening to this is capable of going into any of their systems and customize it because the systems don't allow for this stuff.
Right.
So that's where we come into play. So we believe that software, just for the sake of software, doesn't save you time. Software that does the right thing and can do the right thing can save you quite a bit of time. So let's come back to PTO tracking. So our system, if you're using our timekeeping system, has a PTO tracker in it. So it's looking at how much hours they're working, and it's earning and accruing it. It's putting it in the employee's self-service portal. And in that portal, the employee never comes to you and says, how many days do I have? How many days did I use? Did I use a whole day last time I took it off? Did you call that sick or did you call that vacation? Because, I went with my kids and took them to the doctor for an hour, but the other 7 hours I was in at the doctor. And it gets insane.
Right.
So technologically, you can solve this with software and have a PTO tracking system that answers the employee's question for them, just like the handbook. So in the same place where their handbook is also their timekeeping and their time off. Okay. And so they go in and they know how many days they have left. They know how many days they've used. It's all right there calculated for them. They can request it. You, as the manager, get the request via your own interface. You can approve or deny it or put notes in it or do whatever you need to do. You can send it back to them to re-request it, so forth and so on. For those out there who are listening who have a spreadsheet and are trying to keep track of all this stuff, you know that you're the point. And you're the point of the spear, and the spear is being held by all the employees, and they're constantly picking the spear up and going, how much time do I have left? Can I get, can I take vacation? Can you approve this? Can I get 5 days of paid and 2 days of unpaid? And they're pucking you with that stick. And
right.
And if you've got the right technological solution, then you cannot get poked with the spear. They just go in and they let you know, and you approve it. And literally butterflies come out of your computer every morning because you have a PTO system in place.
I love that. And so it's one of those things that just because you know how to use Excel doesn't mean you always should, right? And certainly it has great applications. But you're right. This is the hearing you go through, and I'm glad that you shared that first example of PTO, because my hopes are, as anybody that's watching, is everybody's eyes and ears should be spinning in that example, right? Because that's real life, as you know, Paul. That is all the ins and outs and variables in a practice of people and their time and their questions, and taking way too much time away from what matters, which is not only taking care of patients, but in a lot of cases, their extra time that just doesn't need to be wasted.
Well, yeah, and John, I think as a manager, you got to be careful about putting systems or working in systems that put demands on you, of which if you don't meet the demand, then the system breaks down. So what I mean by that is let's say it's August, and last February somebody took some time off and you didn't have time at the time to go in there and put it in your Excel sheet. That they were putting that demand on you. You didn't meet that demand, and now your Excel sheet's wrong. Right. And none of us remember how much time anybody took off, a week ago, much less several months ago. Mm-hmm. So, I also, John, I'm coming from the perspective of, I've got 40 employees. I'm a founder. I have managers, but I'm also still a manager. We still have to go through this. So these are systems that we use in our business too, so.
Yeah, it's great. Yep. All right. So this last one is, I'm very excited to hear your perspective on this, which is how to get employees to answer their own policy questions.
Well, we touched base on that in the beginning. Yeah. First of all, you've got your handbook, you've got it in place. It needs to be in a place where all your employees can get to it and read it and answer their own questions. Now, oftentimes I'll get a reply to that statement. Well, we put it in Dropbox or we put it in Google Docs or whatever, and they can access it there. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you that's not the worst place. That's one way to solve this problem. Right. However, it would be good to know how often your employees are accessing their employee handbook, and it would be, better for you if everything was in one place. And so I want to say everything. So every morning when they go in and they log into your HR system, they see how many days they have left of PTO. They can make a request if they need to make a request. There's a bulletin board there where they can see announcements. Hey, you bunch of dummies, you're not closing out payroll like you're supposed to, and payroll's coming up Thursday. Or, hey, we love all y'all. We are going to pay for the Friday. The doctor said we've done such a wonderful job. We are going to pay for that Friday. In other words, there's a bulletin board for them to see what's going on.
Right.
Likewise, if if you've distributed something new that everybody needs to see, maybe it's December and you're publishing the time off holidays for next year and you need everybody to see that. That's there. Okay. New employee logs in. Their handbook is there for them to sign and acknowledge. Everything is in one place.
Right.
And so by having everything in one place, you don't say, well, go to Dropbox, click on the SO file, and then once you get to that file, then you go down to that. Don't read the one that's dated January 1st. Right. Read the one that's dated April 2nd. Right. That's the current handbook, I think. Let me know. Go read that book. That's not the way you want to do it. You want to have the handbook visible there for everybody. It's the same for everybody. They click on it. And in fact, let's let them read it at home. Let's let them get in the habit that if they've got a question and, good news, they're pregnant. Well, how much time are you going to get off of work? Is it paid or unpaid? It's all right there in the handbook for them to start answering some of their questions. Then they can come in with a different question to take your time. I guess there's no stupid question, but not the stupid question that can be answered because it's right there in the paragraph. But the question is, well, what if I need a little extra time, or how does this work? They're coming in with better questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you might have touched on this right when we started, and that there are the tools, but there's the underlying reason of why this is so important in practice, and that is building trust, right? Teams will perform well. The practices grow. They're taking care of the patients. They trust each other. And like you mentioned, Paul, it's that consistency so often that is the key of trust. And as you know, and you guys experience this on the other side, I'm sure a lot of times, which is new employee comes in. And if these things aren't organized, if that new employee feels like things are scattered and all over the place, it's hard to build that trust. It's hard to continue to ask them to do some of the things they need to do to come up to speed when the practice has not taken the time to simplify it. And like you said, take it seriously on saving time.
Oh, yeah. And look, an onboarding system, a simple onboarding checklist and a system in place, which is it can be just huge when it comes to onboarding people. Yeah. They have fewer questions because you're answering it in the onboarding process. They feel more welcomed. Part of your onboarding system should be to give them a mentor, someone who hangs out with them and answers all their questions for the first couple of weeks. It's just, we all get it. Systems help us.
Yeah.
And again, that's a place where you can keep all of that stuff in your HR vault, or, we call it HR Basecamp is what we call our software.
Yeah.
And so, every manager out there is getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. If you take what I've told you to heart, I'm telling you that if you've got 10 or more employees, I've just given you back 15 to 20 hours of time this coming year. And for most of you, I've given you back dozens and dozens of hours. Because, that's what technology is supposed to do for you.
That's huge. And I think as we close out here, and I mentioned it briefly, all of you at Cedar have to deal with the other side of the HR, right? With some of these other issues and things that do happen. And I would imagine that really was the big core of a lot of this, and wanting to create these tools for the people that you work with, because it's these downstream things, this planning, creating these systems, which prevents a lot of those challenges. And so I'm glad that you mentioned for everybody, pay attention, think through all of these. And one last question I have for you, and you guys may experience this a lot, is I think sometimes, Paul, when people first get this information, they want to get organized. They want to get things in one place. Mm-hmm. But it's those first couple steps, right? It's, this is very overwhelming. How much work am I going to have to do just to get me in that position where I can save time? What can you share with people as we close out here, what you've seen from the practices that have been successful, that have implemented these things, and how they, most importantly, get it started to get on the right track? Everything is a lift for you as the manager. So I don't want to sugarcoat any of that. It's going to take some of your time. Right. And I think firing up a new timekeeping system with a PTO tracking is going to be the heaviest part of your lift. Mm-hmm. The rest of it, if you're using and I can only speak for our software. I do look at some other softwares, but we've really dumbed down our development over the years. We try to keep it as easy to set up and use as possible. It's look, on the timekeeping side of it, you got to switch over.
but it's only going to take a month to do it at the most, and you're going to be so much happier with the PTO tracking if you've got all that stuff built in. So there's nothing to fear. Uploading documents and sharing them with the employees, that stuff happens in seconds. Our system allows you to keep notes in all of their files. There's just nothing to that. You're already doing that. So you're just putting it all in one place. So really, this is one of the easiest things that you can do for yourself and for your practice. Whether you're using our system or you're using another one, it's if it meets your needs, I highly recommend you get an automated PTO tracking system in place.
Yeah. I liken it to prevention, the type of prevention that a dental practice shares with their patients, right? They stress the importance of coming in twice a year, getting your cleaning, on the periodontal maintenance side for those patients that have that, making sure that they come in to prevent a lot of those downstream issues. And I'm sure you guys see the same thing. And it definitely is worth them taking the time to get organized and doing this. Paul, thank you so much. I mean, certainly to have you come on and share your insight from all the great work you guys do at Cedar. Can you let everybody know how they can learn more about Cedar, how they can get in touch with you guys?
Well, there's two ways. The first way is we've created a private Facebook group. It's an HR community which is designed for the managers, like the managers at ADOM, to come in and be able to ask questions, to be able to help one another. And best part about it is it's curated by all of the experts here at Cedar. It's called HR Basecamp. If you go on to Facebook and you look for it, Basecamp is spelled in 2 words, HR Basecamp. Get in the group and ask away. Ask questions about what we talked about today. Find out, just feel free to get in there and ask any HR question that you want. The other thing is if you want to talk to us and speak with us directly, just go to Cedar Solutions with an S, CEDRsolutions.com. You can chat with us there. You can learn more about us. You can call us if you have any questions. We're happy to help ADOM members anytime.
Awesome. Well, Paul, again, thank you so much. I'm sure that so many of the members that are out there watching are going to take such great value from this. And I know ADOM truly appreciates the relationship with Cedar. So you have a wonderful day, and we'll be sure to get this out to everybody so they can learn more and get organized and save time. That's most important. So thanks again, Paul.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, John.
All right, you got it.